All right, welcome back to episode 42 with the Art of Football 365. Today will be the story of Jason Herman. And before we dive into that, Gronk spike the subscribe button, hit the like button for us, and leave a comment. We love the feedback, love to hear from you guys, and love to have discussions with you. And our three sponsors are Driftless Quality Wear, 312 Beef and Sausage, and Bacher Automotive. And Jason, you'll be getting a $10 gift card from 312 Beef and Sausage and a free oil change from Bacher Automotive. Wanted
Cool.
to
Thank
throw
you.
that in. Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. Uh, Gannon, let's dive right into this.
Yeah, just listing off some of his stats: 459 attempts, over 2,000 yards, 21 touchdowns. It's a hell of a stat line. So, kind of jumping into that, just kind of Jason, just introduce yourself to the audience, and so everybody can get a feel who Jason is on and off the field.
I'm a senior at Stockton High School, graduating a month from today. And the last 4 years playing football have been awesome, and this year's been different. But this 6-week season has been, it's still football. Take what I can get. It's still fun, and I'm just kind of soaking up everything right now. I play my last game tomorrow, had my last practice tonight, and just happy to be a part of a team.
Yeah, for sure. And my question for you is, I know my brother's a senior. He's playing at Akron High School, so he's going through the same similar situation that you are. So, kind of describe to our audience what it's been like to be a senior this year.
Man, kind of like the team arc that you have throughout a season, a regular 9-game season, and then the potential to have the playoff games. There's so much more to do with it. There's so much more development, and especially even preceding the season, all the summer camp, 7-on-7s. You kind of get a gist of what you're running, who your teammates are, this and that, and in this 6-week season, because it was kind of just thrown at us.
Mm-hmm.
Things have been all right, but there's only so much you can just pick up and go from, and trying to have that condensed 6-week season and build a whole family and community and a team. It's a lot tougher for sure, but at the end of the day, it's like hard not to be grateful for getting games at all. But it also, kind of sucks thinking about where it could have been, what it could have been, but just kind of rolling with punches and doing what you can do, control what you can control.
No, that's a great outlook, and you're living by what you need to right now, just enjoying that you have the 6 games and soak it up, because those 4 years, as you know, go by really quick. And, you described earlier, you're currently a senior class of 2021 from Stockton. Kind of just to describe the Stockton atmosphere, being a Stockton Blackhawk, growing up there, going to high school, just kind of talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah. My class has always had a special relation with, the school community and stuff. Most of us have seen our older brothers play. I know there's a handful of us that, kind of idolize their older siblings and what they did on the football field and for our community. And then, that's carried into through us. It's carried into, our classmates and the underclassmen. And it's like kind of like playing off a legacy and not so much living up to expectations, but, trying to just, do justice for the number you wear, the team you play for, the coaching staff, the fans, they're always buying into it. Like, they'll always be there. And there's a huge, tradition in Stockton for football, and it makes playing the game a lot more fun.
There definitely is a tradition.
That's he hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah, for sure. And there's definitely a big tradition in Stockton. When it comes down to Friday night and the Blackhawks are playing, a lot of people at Stockton are showing out to come watch them play. And it's tough this year with no fans and stuff, or limited fans, I should say. But let's take this back a little bit before you were in high school and all that. How did you get involved in sports, and what have they done for you kind of growing up?
I was kind of put into wrestling shoes and on a wrestling mat in kindergarten. So it's like before, just out of diapers onto a wrestling mat kind of. But I'm the youngest of 5 siblings. So I have 2 older brothers. One's 3 years older than me, and one's probably, I think he graduated the class of 08. So there's kind of two different eras that I look at. And, my dad's a huge supporter. He's driven us cross country wrestling and stuff. And honestly, growing up as a little kid, like a lot of little kids you see like buy into sports right away. And I wasn't really like that. I was kind of, put through sports. And it was kind of in the middle school era, it was like, a lot of kids bloom early. They love football from when they start. They love wrestling when they start. And I didn't. I started really loving sports my sixth grade year. I started like kind of getting a taste of competitiveness and stuff. And, since then it's taken off. I mean, it's rocketed since then. And, wrestling and football have just become a part of my entire lifestyle since then. So it's kind of like not late blooming, but not super early either. But yeah, kind of around the sixth grade era, things just started picking up, getting more fun. I started taking it more serious, and it's grown since then.
Yeah, I mean, kind of building off of your point right there, just kind of growing up and that type of stuff. Who were kind of some of your inspirations or role models? Somebody, you talked about your older brothers or maybe a famous athlete, just somebody, going through your earlier years of sports that you really looked up to.
Yeah, definitely starting my oldest brother, Jared Herman. He wore 27. He was an all-state running back his senior year. And, I was so young that I didn't really watch him play live. I never really had that memory of him playing, but it was always kind of like this atmosphere of like, he's this athlete. And, it was kind of always in the back of my head, like, oh yeah, Jared, good athlete. And it kind of influenced me subconsciously. And then my second older brother, Jeremiah, he was a senior when I was a freshman. We've always been kind of similar weights. And he's probably my biggest inspiration because, him being closer to my age and stuff, things were a lot more personal, a lot more competitive, all the trash talk and the love. And we got a wrestling mat in my basement. And it's like through middle school and high school, after practices, we'd go down there and work together. And I mean, sometimes it was like war. I mean, with your sibling, it's the most competitive relationship ever. I mean, there'll be blood on the mat and it's like, but that's such a special bond too, is because, you're so competitive with your brother, and you could get in a fist fight and then the next minute it's cool. It's cool. Like, you love each other no matter what. And things get dropped after a few minutes. And then probably my dad's a huge inspiration. He's just from his dedication to my siblings and I, and even my friends in some cases. He coaches our middle school program with the help of two other coaches that are huge inspirations for me. Our middle school wrestling coach too, huge inspo to me. He came around the sixth grade time when things started, rolling with me, and he was a wrestling state champ. He was on our 2012 state champ football team, and he's the same age as my second oldest sister. And he was a guy that I knew had been to the show, had been the best in his area, and it was like having that at the right time was I'm super grateful for it. I mean, he was a huge inspo to me. He pushed me super hard in middle school, and kind of built a huge foundation for me for my work ethic and everything from that point on.
Yeah, for sure. And your brother Jeremiah kind of reached out to me, and that's how we hooked this up. We talked a little bit back and forth, and we both thought it was a good idea to get you on here. And the way you're talking right now, it's very intelligent. You know your stuff, and that leads me into my other point. Is he left me with some notes and stated that you have over a 4.1 GPA. So, kind of talk a little bit about academics. How important is it to be a student first before an athlete?
Yeah, the underclassmen, I try to preach to them. It's like while you're in high school, like sports in school are like your jobs, kind of. I think there's a lot more heart involved in them than like a job would be. But, I put school here and sports here, just below it. Cause it's like, you see a lot more kids that are athletes and not so much student athletes, Mm-hmm. And Jeremiah is, a huge influence for me on academics. I mean, he set a standard for me. He had a over 4.0 And it was always, something I admired, something I wanted to be at that level. And he was a huge influence, but it transcends beyond sports for me. Like I want to be a great athlete and I want to be a great student. And that it's like from wrestling, my favorite quote, we were at a summer camp and Drew Foster from UNI, he was NCAA champ, Division I. He came to a little camp in Dakota and we're rolling around, and the quote they said that they have on the UNI board is, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I had kind of been living by that without really putting it in words. And ever since then, that's been like my favorite quote. What you do on and off the mat, the court, the field, kind of defines your character. And I don't want to be just a football player or wrestler. Like if I can work hard in that, I can work hard in everything else. I want to take everything serious and be dedicated to what I do.
No, that's great. It's bigger than sports. It's bigger than football. It's the academics and those type of disciplines that you're setting now and you're living by are going to take away longer down the rest of your life than sports even will. That's cool to hear, man. It's special to hear that out of somebody that's just a senior graduating, that, somebody like Bryce or I would say, as we're 2 years out of graduating, 2-3 years out of high school. But, shift gears a little bit here. You're concluding your 4th year playing high school football for Stockton. Kind of describe the NUIC. I personally went to Freeport, so I was not a part of the NUIC, but I've seen it up close and personal with some of my friends and stuff. And it's a good level of football, and it's a different energy on a Friday night. So kind of just describe that atmosphere in the NUIC.
Right. I think the NUIC, I don't know if it's up for dispute. I think it's the toughest 1A conference. Yeah, for sure.
It's state champs every year.
Oh yeah. So many of them in the last decade alone. And it's awesome. I think football is like war. And at the same time, it's like you get to see so many kids. And that's what I really like about this podcast is it gives local kids a chance to speak their mind, kind of get some looks at other kids. Cause when I meet kids from other teams, it's few and far between. And I kind of just base, my ideas off them from football. And of course, football is super competitive. But there's a lot of great football players and a lot of, respectable athletes in the area. And to be able to play against them is awesome. I mean, it makes every night fun. There's always competition around the corner. And, I would hate to be in an easier conference and go 9-0 than, be in the NUIC and go 6-3. I mean, it's a blast for sure.
NUIC is definitely competitive. Growing up playing in that.
It's a great take. Rather be 6-3 in the NUIC than somewhere else being 9-0.
I like that. Yeah, for sure. And now that we've kind of learned a little bit about you as a senior and the route your high school career has taken so far, your brother mentioned that you committed to Central College. Is that correct?
Yep, Central College out in Pella, Iowa.
And that's for wrestling, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. So kind of describe the recruiting process that you went through, whether it was maybe getting recruited by a couple football teams or wrestling in general. But for our younger audience, kind of describe how to handle that recruiting process.
Yeah, I think, I know as much as the next guy about college and kind of what to expect for it. And I see a lot of athletes reach out to coaches and teams, and some reach out to them personally. Played 6 or 7 D3 colleges, kind of close around here, reach out about wrestling. And I probably went on 4 or 5 visits to these colleges set up through the wrestling coach. And I guess it was kind of weird with COVID because, some campuses are online and stuff. So it kind of gives a different atmosphere. You can't really visit dorms and stuff. So it's hard to get more of a personal, in-depth look at colleges during this time. And hopefully it changes in the future. But for me, I was super undecided, whether I even wanted to play sports or not. And I had a talk with Coach Van Clay, who's the head wrestling coach and athletic director out at Central. He would call me, check up on me once a week. He showed me, he cared more so than other schools. I visited there. It was, it felt homey. It felt, the environment was comfortable. But yeah, he checked up on me and I had the conversation with him. I was like, Coach, I want to get as much out of my college experience as possible. I want to be a good student, but, I want to live that 4 years, 5 years, whatever it takes for schooling, to the fullest. And it's kind of two paths being from a small town. Do I want to go to a small school and keep that personal connection in a small area? Or do you want to, switch up your lifestyle and experience something like a bigger school or university? And I had this conversation with him, and I wasn't sure. I was between, wrestling, small school, or trying to attend a university. And outside of all influences like cost and distance from home, it came down to, what I wanted personally. And, he framed it for me the best he could. If I went to a big school and didn't try wrestling, there was always the chance that I would regret not trying. But going there and attempting it, like, you would never regret trying something, even if you don't like it. And, being super indecisive, hearing that was what I needed to hear. I knew for sure, I would be more proud and more satisfied if I knew I tried and figured it out than have that question unanswered in my head. So that was kind of, the tipping of the scale for my college decision.
I mean, I'm going to keep harping on this one, but you're saying and doing all the right things, and it's for the right things to enjoy your college process and everything leading up to that. So that's cool to hear, man. I'm glad because that home feeling of once you're on campus and you kind of know that that's the feeling that you're going to go with for the next year. It's a cool feeling. I know that Bryce and I both have done that and experienced that, but switching gears big time here, kind of what's a fun fact about you that, kind of off the field, if you weren't playing football, that somebody would recognize you? Kind of just something different and unique about yourself.
Different, unique. For a hobby, I make clothing. I kind of picked it up my sophomore year, and I hadn't really seen people do it at that time. Kids. I think right now I've seen, and since then I've seen a lot of kids doing entrepreneurial stuff, and it's respectable. But my sophomore year, I decided I wanted to make clothes for fun, try and sell them locally. And that hobby kind of, I did yard work or whatever and took that money and bought, I looked on YouTube. I took all this information in, and like I spent a good month or two in the spring, my sophomore year. Like I'd come home from school, I would work like the whole time. Like I was just like super caught up on it. I've never, and I figured out what I could do for the cheapest bare minimum for like screen printing and stuff. And I started screen printing shirts, and, they weren't like super good quality. The designs were kind of funky, but I was having a ton of fun with it. And I sold, 20 shirts or whatever and made some money. And then that kept getting reciprocated into it. And then from there, I could buy a heat press. And my biggest purchase was an embroidery machine. And so I can do like embroidery stuff. Like I'm trying to think like this right here. Like I embroidered this today. It's like an ISU patch for one of my friends that's going to ISU, and it's all stitched. And it's like, that's just kind of like a fun hobby for me. Whether I'm bootlegging clothes or making my own stuff, it's like I have that ability. And, that's something like as a student athlete, you might not know there's an entrepreneurial thing on the side, but a lot of it's just for fun. And I have fun doing it. That's why I do it.
That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm
not
not
expecting that.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if I know what clothes that you sell, but I've seen some Stockton kids wearing some different type of T-shirts. So I don't know, maybe is that you or is?
Does it say like Goon on it?
Yeah. That's you.
Yeah, man, that's all me. Just thought it would be fun, I want, and that the reason I did gather the Goons or Goon or whatever is because, I think the word's funny, but my group of friends in Stockton are close knit, and I wanted something that expressed more than just myself. So it's kind of this idea of my friends and stuff, and people bought it, people wore it, and some people thought it was cool. I never got really any negative feedback on it. People were supportive, so it was super fun starting, and people ask me about it from time to time, but yeah, I just kind of make some stuff for fun. If I have an idea, I can put it on a shirt, embroidered, whatever.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
That's pretty sick.
Sitting here thinking about it. I mean, Gannon and I haven't dropped any merch yet, so
Yeah,
maybe
we might need to be in contact.
we might have to reach back out to you. Have you make our t-shirts? That'll be.
Man, I could hook it up. Yeah, I've done some stuff for some local businesses, like in Stockton. Like my sister, she owns a funeral home in Freeport and stuff. So I make like her mortuary services stuff. I've embroidered masks for her business, and they wear them.
Get it sold, man.
Yeah, I mean, if someone needs, a quick thing or whatever, it's like I can hook it up. It's cool.
Jack of all trades, right there.
Look at that. See, that's why we asked the question. Now we have.
Yes, sir.
You're one of
yes,
the first
sir.
guys that we've incorporated that question with, and that's why we do it.
For sure.
Sweet.
Well, now that we've got the fun fact out of the way and we've learned a little bit more about you, we've talked wrestling, we've talked football. So now instead of talking about them separately, relate them for us. How do wrestling and football go hand in hand, and how has one sport made you better in the other?
Oh, that's a good question, because the conditioning states for them are completely different. Like football is more running, and wrestling is more like full body. It's the shape you have to be in for them are different. But I think wrestling benefits football a lot in that, a lot of the wrestlers that come into football, they know how to be low. They know how to have their head up. And a lot of that same wrestling stance is, kind of the form you want for tackling. They know how to grab ankles. They know how to read body movements and, for tracking and stuff when you're tackling, scraping. And that's like our coaches at Stockton. We always have a plethora of kids that are on the wrestling team. That's a huge thing in Stockton too. The linemen or D-backs or whatever, they're always, stable on their feet. They know how to be low, and they're pretty mean for the most part. So I think wrestling has a huge influence on football for sure.
No, that's 100%. They definitely are linked together in sports in general. Just being a multi-sport athlete, we've talked about that before, how big it is and beneficial to people. But, kind of over your past 4 years, you've probably had a lot of cool memories, athletically and academically. Kind of what are some of the big ones that stick out to you that, you're going to take with for the rest of your life?
Yeah. So it's kind of two parts.
It's okay to be selfish here a little bit.
I mean, my freshman year, the Leewood Stockton Co-op for wrestling, they were ranked number 2 in the state. We had won our regional for team wise, and we had a super talented senior class and a super talented freshman class. And it came down to, the team sectional. We dueled Aurora Christian, which had just started their program the year before, and this was their second year. And we were ranked 2 at the time, and they were ranked 1. And they beat us at the team sectional and then blew through the state tournament, and winning our regional with Dakota in it. So we had, we knew we were the second best team behind them. The next year, watching my brother's class graduate and all the friends I had made through him, and wrestling with them, it was a super tough loss my freshman year. And then sophomore year, bouncing back, we knew that it was going to be us, Aurora Christian, Dakota again. And so we had beat Dakota that year. We were on a good roll. And then it was like, I knew in my head, like, no matter what, getting to the state tournament for the first time individually was going to be tough, because in the same idea that the NUIC is tough, our regional and sectional for wrestling is the toughest in 1A, hands down. So making it to the show usually is like punching a ticket to almost placing if you have the composure to place at state, just because of the toughness. But so my sophomore, I knew, from the middle of the season or even beginning of the season that, I was going to have to win a big match for the rest of my team. Like, I knew it was inevitable. I was going to have to wrestle that big match. And it was when it came down to it, was I going to be able to perform? Was I going to be able to be that teammate? And, I qualified for state, and that was my original goal. And then I ended up making the semifinals and getting 4th in double OT, and, kind of aiming for something. And then I exceeded that. And then team sectionals, it comes down to I'm the last match. we're up by 6 points. So all I had to do was not get pinned, and we had the dual sealed. And I go out and win my match. I end up pinning the kid. The whole crowd roars, punch the ticket to team state. That was cool. And then that weekend, we get to team state. We roll through the first round, the second round is the semifinals. And then third round, in the state finals, we have Aurora Christian. And it was huge. Like, I could feel the magnitude. But, I remember more so how the team competed rather than how I competed individually. Because, that class was carried by sophomores. I think we had 2 seniors that year, maybe 2 starting juniors out of a 14-man lineup. The rest were all sophomores, freshmen. And, we're taking this 1A private school in the suburbs in the finals. And it's like, it's time for revenge. And the whole team, it was like the most lights out performance I've ever seen. Mari Roby from Lena, super good football player, super good kid. He was a freshman that year. And so Aurora Christian bumped their lineup up, and he wrestled the kid. And Mari, came short of state that year individually. And he had to wrestle the kid that got 3rd place at the weight before him. And he took it to him 8-0. And that just blew everyone's mind. I had a tough match. This kid had beat one of our seniors twice the year before. And I'd seen him through middle school. He was a stud. And he had gotten 4th at the weight below me, which was a tough weight that year. And I ended up beating him 12-6. And then, the weights above me, our seniors performed. Even the kids that, just kind of filled in spots, were taking it to kids that were placing at state and that caliber. And it was like, I've never seen a team step up like that. And it was, it's never going to leave my memory. And of course, I got a ring to prove it, all that. And, that 3-week span at the end of the season was, a time I'm never going to forget.
Yeah, definitely. I can't speak from experience, nor can Gannon. Going to state, but I'm glad that you got to experience that and enjoy that and soak that all up. And that's definitely something you'll never forget for sure. And kind of while we're on the topic of high school still and talking about sports and all that fun stuff, I want to shout out Kyle Kampmeyer for everything he's done with the NUIC football page and all that stuff. So I happened to, while you're answering that question, I pulled up Kyle's post, and I was just looking where you were ranked at rushing yards and stuff, and you're ranked 24th all time in rushing in the NUIC history, and you're also averaging 5.1 yards per carry. So kind of speak on that a little bit in itself, with giving some credit to your offensive line and how important an offensive line is to the game of football offensively.
Yeah, I think, a running back's only as good as his line is. And all those guys are my classmates, my buddies. And for them, to be a unit together, to have them work for me and me work for them in return, is a super awesome bond. The communication between myself and the line and the other running backs is awesome. And yeah, it's a big credit to my blockers. Obviously, without them, I wouldn't probably be sitting here talking to you guys. So yeah, that, and then, kind of the mentality of running the football is like, you got to hit the person that you're running at harder than they're going to hit you. You got to go, full speed the whole time. Block as hard as you can for the guys that are getting the ball when you're not. And it's running back. It's fun and all, and it's flashy. But it's a lot easier to be motivated to sacrifice things to run as hard as you can, when you have that whole team behind your back, and your coaches supporting you. That's all I really have to say is that, I credit them for everything.
No, that's what it comes down to. It's the foundation and having the right role models and people aligned to show you the right direction, and then for you to eventually take it over on your own. But I got to ask, with all the yards and all the accolades and all the stuff you've done on the football field, kind of what's been your single, maybe your best game statistically for a game or whatever, or just a rivalry game, something that you remember as one of your best Friday night games ever in high school?
Ooh, best Friday night games, man.
Playoff game, anything.
Playoff. Yeah, I think. Yeah, my junior year, kind of being, not the underclassman anymore, and kind of being a huge factor in the offense and the team success within the community. The playoff atmosphere is crazy. So my junior year, the first win against Princeville was awesome. To have that success in the postseason was great. But I think my favorite memory was probably playing Ackland my junior year in the playoffs. Even though we lost, I think, I had a good personal performance. I think it was 180 something yards, 2 touchdowns, and it was
Ouch, that Ackland defense. Wow.
I didn't mean, I don't mean to,
No, you're good.
But I mean, I think, the home playoff atmosphere, some electrifying plays. That's what I remember most, man, is like those plays and kind of the magnitude of that game. Even from the walkout, I still remember the walkout vividly. And I was happy with my personal performance. And I felt like I did what I could do, and it was just circumstantial, and it was a hard fought game. It was a good game, but tough loss. But I think the memories I had in that game were probably my favorite, even though we didn't win.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, playing at Stockton in a playoff game, I know I played there my senior year, and the atmosphere.
We get it. You had a big play. You scored a big touchdown.
That's not where I was going with this, but no, I was just talking. The atmosphere of Stockton, the Stockton Blackhawk Field, what's it, John O'Boyle Field? Is that what it's called?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that atmosphere on a Saturday during the day or a Friday at night, you really can't beat it. The fans go crazy for their Blackhawks, and whoever you're playing against, good luck for sure. But I just want to say this has been absolutely awesome. This interview has been great. You've said all the right things. You have had a hell of a high school career in general, and just from getting to know you based on this conversation, I think you're one hell of a person. I think you got an incredibly bright future. You seem to be a very hard worker. You're doing things outside of school right now as a 17, 18-year-old kid already, progressing towards wanting to be something special. So I really appreciate that. Appreciate you coming on here. But before I have Gannon wrap this up, I want to ask you, we kind of ask this to every person that we have on here as a special guest, kind of like, what was your favorite thing about the podcast, the interview, and maybe throw in a little advice for us.
I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. From a athlete perspective, in high school, this opportunity is different because, as a high school kid, super rare that you get a chance to speak your mind and, get eyes on you. And I think you guys did the podcast last week with Will and Hayden, and that's awesome. I think getting a closer look at, the kids you're versing is a super unique thing for high school football. That's the coolest part. And I'd love to see more kids and know them personally, because like I said, you only kind of get the football view of a lot of from other towns. And I think this is an awesome, opportunity for those kids. And I'm super appreciative that you guys are holding it. And, I just hope you keep doing what you're doing. Best of luck to you guys with the podcast. I think it's great.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot. I mean, that's the direction we want to keep taking this, is for people that just get to know the person out. I mean, I feel like, I know Bryce did, and people that are going to tune in to watch this on YouTube on Saturday are going to be, okay, I feel like I know Jason a lot better. Like you said, it's getting to know the person off the football field, off whatever sporting event they play. That's the most important thing. But no, going back, piggybacking what Bryce said, it was really cool watching you and just, listening to you talk about these questions we asked you, because we threw a lot at you in a half-hour span here. And the way you answered it, I know you're also doing it just because you were so routine with how you respond to those questions. So that was awesome to see, man. But yeah, you've had a hell of a 4 years, a hell of an athletic career, and you still got 4 more years to play it in college, and it's only going to get better. I mean, moving to college, that type of stuff, you're going to really have a blast with that. But keep something.
Oh, you'll have a blast. You'll have a blast.
Oh, you're going to have a hell of a time in college. You're going to be on your own a lot more. But it's cool to see this. I mean, just being out for a couple of years now, we're seeing kids now that are doing this, and just let you get your voice out there. That's the biggest thing. But yeah, we thank you again, and make sure you guys keep viewing, liking, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Hit us with some feedback on social media, our own accounts or the football account, whatever it is. Keep supporting us, and we're gonna keep doing this thing.
Right.